All right. Thank you so much to everyone who's attended today, and especially those who have supported Living Free movement since we started a couple of years ago. It's a really special time for people to come together and meet in person, especially with, you know, all the times in which we've been separated and divided. And most of us have all experienced that with family and friends. So these sorts of opportunities to get together and to catch up, it's fantastic. The conversations that you have, they're just normal again. They feel normal, and you don't have to hide what someone's like before you can have those chats. So it's so important that we gather and do this sort of thing. So massive thank you for everyone that's attended for that. And what we wanted to do is just give you a bit of an update on what we're doing. We've all got our own projects and doing different things, and I guess we just want to update you on what's going on with Living Free, with Nick's case, and Darren's been doing some work as well that he wants to chat about. So for those who are aware of Living Free and what we do, we've got an online platform, and we've been building out a retreat up in the Byron hinterland. So over the last 12 months, I've been up and down there, and we've had several working bees in which people have come up and helped, and they've been absolutely amazing. So what we're building up there, it's on a property of about 40 acres, and a creek runs through it. It's going to be most likely a health retreat, but we'll also run other events and that sort of thing there as well. And we've built a large sort of deck area. We've got a few bathrooms and toilets, and we've put in a sauna and ice bars, and there's a health hub section that we'll be able to do vitamin IVs and that sort of thing for those who are suffering sort of chronic disease, vaccine injury, long COVID, as they will tell you in the public, but all of those sorts of things. So helping people detox from all of the stuff that they've done over the years. And then also doing things such as meditation, breath work, learning more about their health, taking charge of their health, taking responsibility for what they've done, and trying to make sure that they don't get back into the same sort of mess. And that's a lot of us. That's my journey as well. That's what started all of this with a diagnosis for me. And then we started up Heal Me, and then we started up Lawful Me. I got Nick and Darren on board for Lawful Me, and then we grew from there to have Grow Me, Academy, Spiritual Me, and what else? Optimize Me. So there's a bunch of these platforms that are all there with different topics, and it's been a fantastic community, and we're very blessed to be a big part of it. So that's what we're doing. But I want to hear from Mr. Patterson, because Mr. Patterson's been upsetting the government lots. He's been doing some things in the courtrooms and asking for information that they don't want to give us. And so let's get an update there.
I'd say that I've been asking for information that they claim to have that we know they don't have. So the latest, most of you guys would know sort of what's happening, but the latest is this. On the 15th of December, we asked the judge to make an order that the prosecution provide a couple of affidavits from senior bureaucrats, because we're running a collateral challenge. So it's a challenge to the validity of the state of emergency. And we have a right to do this challenge. And the way it works is the state bears the burden of proving that they had the grounds to establish the state of emergency, which means they had the scientific evidence. So the prosecution has agreed to provide affidavits from Brett Sutton, who's allegedly was Australian of the Year.
Shock.
Yeah. And Jenny Mikakos, the former health minister. So they've agreed to provide these affidavits, and they're aware of our intention to cross-examine them in court as well, because we've discussed this in detail in the courtroom. So the judge made an order that the prosecution provides everything that's still outstanding, which includes those affidavits with the scientific evidence, and they had to provide it by the 15th of January. Well, it's past the 15th of January and they haven't provided the affidavits, which is no surprise to me because they don't have the scientific evidence. So I'm pretty confident we've found the kink in their armour, that they can't progress any further now without either admitting to the fact that they didn't have the scientific evidence or trying to fudge something up, which is sort of what I hope they do, because that'll be easy to challenge. So we've sent them an email and a letter asking them, why they failed to comply with providing the material. And then they said they're very sorry, okay? It sounded very sincere. And they said they're very sorry and that they were very busy over the shutdown period and Christmas, but they needed another 4 weeks to provide a certificate, which is under Section 225 of the Health Act, which I've looked this up. The certificate has no relevance to a collateral challenge at all. But it's more of that smoke and mirrors there. They don't know what to do. They know the evidence doesn't exist, so they're trying to provide something in the hope that we accept that. And then they went on to say, and I'm paraphrasing here, that they have reiterated to us that they would not be adducing any evidence directly from Brett Sutton or Jenny Makakos, which means they've obviously, I don't know whether they've said this, but I would say there's been about 6 court hearings that we've had, mention hearings, where they've said we will provide affidavits from these people, which is adducing evidence directly from those people. And now they're saying they're not going to be providing any evidence from them. And they've said that they've already reiterated this to us. So that's just a lie, in my opinion. And I have to say in my opinion, because that's just for safety reasons. But it's my strong opinion that that's just a lie and it's deliberate, because these people exist in a lie. And I say this all the time. These people, their power structure is based on their ability to perpetuate lies and convince you of that lie. And when you believe the lie, you get sucked into whatever it is, whatever narrative they create. And that's the stronghold of power that they build up for themselves. And when you speak the truth and expose the lies, that's when they go after you and attack you, which is why they went after me in the first place.
So Darren, what does this collateral challenge mean if they don't have the evidence that they could do the lockdowns to start off with? What would that mean for everybody else who has a fine? How important is this case?
Well, totally, it would invalidate every action that was brought about through any of the pandemic declarations. And while we're on it, let's talk about this thing called the pandemic. Because where it all stems from, this initiation of the states imposing all of these lockdowns upon us, was the fact that the Governor-General of Australia wrote a declaration, and it was called the Pandemic Potential Declaration. And it said in there that there's an event that has occurred that has pandemic potential. It's not a pandemic, it's got the potential to be a pandemic. No one read those words for some reason, and everyone ran around saying, there's a pandemic. And there wasn't. Now, this declaration had to be updated every 3 months. Now, after the first 3 months, they updated it. They kept on updating it. And the Biosecurity Act of the Commonwealth said that one of the requirements that allowed them to update it was that there was no vaccine. Now, in 2021, they brought about a vaccine at the beginning of 2021, and people started taking it. And once that vaccine is present, then the catalyst to write the pandemic potential declaration goes out the window. You can't write it anymore because now we've got a vaccine.
I'm going to say a lot of sick people.
Yeah, well, of course. We've got a vaccine, so this potential of the pandemic lessens because you've got a vaccine protecting yourself from it, so there now isn't the potential of a pandemic. But you know what the government did? They kept on writing those declarations every 3 months up until, I don't know, about 6 or 8 months ago. So they fudged it. But the important thing here is the fact that there was a position of the government that there was just an event that had the potential of a pandemic, and if there was a pandemic, the Governor-General and the Commonwealth had an obligation to declare that, and they never did. So there never was a pandemic, whether there be a state of emergency or not. So it's a very important fact.
Well, that's the point. The reason that we're doing this collateral challenge, like we could have dealt with this ages ago. It's really clear and evident that the police targeted me and my mates because and there was 6 of us that were involved in the interaction, in which I got my shoulder dislocated, and they didn't put anyone else in jail. They just put me in jail, and they didn't name anybody else by name. It was they consistently mentioned me over there. You can hear it on their audio over their body camera footage. So they were targeting me because I was the one that was outspoken, breaking down the narrative. And what it's done is it's opened up this opportunity to, instead of dealing with my own issues there and dealing with the false arrests and the assaults by the police, I have an opportunity to expose the corruption of the government, which is something I have a real desire to do. I've always wanted to be in the fight. Actually, Dave and I have talked about this, how he wanted to be in the fight. And we've been trying many things. We've gone over to Arizona and worked on the border and stopped child trafficking. We've actually been banned from entering the country because we were trying to save children who were considered radicals. We've been in the fight for a while, but now, you know, it's there's an opportunity that could be very beneficial for us, where we can actually expose these pricks for what they are and break down the narrative and get some justice, because justice, which is what law is all about. Law is all about justice. It's the preservation of justice. But what we have is we've got people that write laws now that plunder our rights and take away from our ability. I call it legalised plunder now, and I got that from a book called The Law. And it's, you know, I'm seeing how everything that they create now is just a way to plunder what we have and to diminish our rights and our freedoms. But we can, if we fight back with everything we have, and we work together as communities, and we get people like myself and others, and we get behind them and support them in the fight, like we can go and fight the fight. You don't need everybody to be fighting the same fight in the courts. You just need one to go through and win. And that guy wins, that sets the precedent, and that's how we change things. And that's what I vowed to do from the beginning, is have the big fight.
And they picked on the wrong person. Like, Nico and I go back a number of years, and this man is a man of such integrity that I don't think they realised who they picked on. Nick knew, Nick wanted the fight, and, you know, kept standing up. But this guy has such a belief that, you know, he's up for maybe 30 years in prison if they were successful on their charges, maybe more. I don't even know. What is it?
Oh, it's just a lot.
A lot. You know, and there's many opportunities, and this has happened before, is that it'll get pushed to a stage in which they then offer to drop all the charges and people will grab that. What their problem with Nick is he doesn't care about that. He's fighting for every one of us. And he's been doing this because this is his fight. He has a belief that a higher power is looking after him. And I believe that's true as well. But they're not going to be able to offer something for him to walk away from this. And, you know, the stress on your family, on, you know, your wife is amazing, La Rosa. She's absolute champion for putting up with your shit. But you know, this guy, he's got such integrity and he's fighting, and the stress that it puts on, we talk on a regular basis, but he's not going to give up. So if there's anyone to get behind, to support, this is your man, because I know that he's not going to cave. because he would do anything for what's right, and no one's going to change that in him.
Thanks, mate. It's very nice.
So, what are you trying to say there, Dave? Are you trying to say Nick won't take a deal?
No deals.
No deal.
So, you know, and so all of us up here have got our own challenges. You know, mine came from a health challenge. But, you know, we've known each other before all of this craziness. And we were considered crazy at that time, by the way.
Well, you thought I was crazy first.
He was nuts.
Yeah.
I saw his Facebook posts and I thought, I knew him. I thought he's a good bloke, but this guy just should stop posting.
And this is like, you know, over a decade ago. So it's
probably 8-9 years.
Yeah, but that's when you started to.
Oh yeah, you were nuts for at least 10 years. Yeah. And so, you know, and then we met Darren as well. We went to a place called CLRA. We started learning about the law, and we kept turning up to this place. And Darren was actually one of the ones who you wanted to listen to because he had something a bit more. There was a couple of people that were really dry to listen to, so it was really hard. Nick would often fall asleep trying to listen to these stuff. So we went back, and I invited Darren over to my house one time, and he started talking about some of this craziness as well. And it was ever since then we've stayed in contact. But it's funny how things turn around, and when you're on your true purpose, your true calling, then you can start to feel that. And the world has shifted to a point where, for some reason, some people want to hear about some of the things that we were doing or you know, talking about previously. But it's weird how the world has changed, and that now those true callings are coming into play. So Nick turning up and, you know, trying to stay awake in some of those CLRA meetings has now paid off because he can now use it on, you know, some of these collateral challenges and that sort of thing. And
I didn't even know that I had memorised any of that stuff until I needed it, and then it all came out of my mouth.
So you know, the biggest thing I would say is, you know, getting to know yourself, understanding who you truly are, and trying to work out what your true calling is so that you can be on purpose. It's probably the most important thing. You know, we're all here in this time for this very reason, I believe. And so if you haven't quite worked that out yet, keep trying. Keep trying to work out how you can help. You know, as Nick explained, we'd been involved in a whole range of different things. I'd, you know, helped build websites for anti-vax groups. We went across to Arizona, we were involved in this group, and we just kept trying to do stuff. And then when we had nothing else to do, we thought, you know, let's wake up these people in the gym who we were having these conversations with at Nick's, MMA gym. Let's wake these guys up. So they're drinking the fluoride. That must be the problem. So we started going up to the mountain with a truck and filling up these bottles of water with spring water so that we could start trying to not poison them anymore, so that we could have conversations where they actually realise what was happening in the world. So
we called it awake water, and we made a stencil and we spray painted on this water these big jugs. They were like 15-litre jugs, and we'd do a swap and go, and we'd have like two tons worth of water but underneath the stairs in the gym, and people would come in to get that water, awake water, and the purpose was to awaken people.
And I don't know if it worked, but we did our best. But that's the point, is that, you know, there's opportunities in everyday life to sort of work out what your purpose is and to keep on that truth, because as it says, the truth will set you free. Now, I had a little example the other day. We pulled up at the lights, and it was just before Christmas. Wound down the window. I was a few cars back from the lights, and I saw this guy about to do a ticket on a car just near the hospital in Heidelberg. I yelled out the window, "Mate, give him a break." And he looked over at me and he's like, "What?" And I said, "Mate, it's Christmas time. Just be nice. You're going to feel better for it." And he looked at me and goes, "But they've been there for over an hour." And I said, "Mate, but you're going to feel better." And he looked at me and he goes, "Yeah, all right." And he just walked away. And it's one of those things, I did think about it twice because it was a Range Rover, and I was like, should I be judgmental? You know, maybe this guy deserves a ticket. He's maybe one of these arrogant people. But then I thought, hang on, it's only going to be the council getting that money. So why don't we fight for it? So there's opportunities in everyday life to just try to do a little bit better, make this world a little bit better. And I think overall that makes a huge difference. And there's a ripple effect that we don't probably even understand how far it goes.
Indeed.
So in that case, Darren, tell us what you're up to.
Okay, so I actually just spent the last couple of days at a conference on Mount Dandenong, and there were many people that flew in from all over the country in a way to bring all of the groups together, because divided they conquer and divided we fall. And there's so many different groups out there, I'm sure you're aware of it, with different ideas and pushing different things. And there's lots of egos involved, and a lot of people will not make the admission that certain things that are being brought to the table are not for, or not to benefit the average person. So hopefully we're going to get a lot of groups merging together soon, and hopefully get a lot more support and a lot more of a united front. Also, I've recently been travelling to Norfolk Island, and I've been working with a friend of mine.
You got the T-shirt?
I have. I've been working with a friend of mine named Daryl O'Brien, and we've discovered that there's a seal, the Norfolk Island seal, the Great Seal of Norfolk Island, that still exists, and it's one of the last remaining Crown offices. And at this present time, there seems to be a move to sell off all of the titles offices in each state, and they're no longer under Crown control. They're in private hands. There appears to be some sort of oversight from the government, but it's just a token gesture, so you think they're still involved. Now, the people of Norfolk Island have started up their own government. In 2016, the Australian government came in and dissolved their legislative assembly and took over the island. Now, the Australian government were only there as in an administrative role. They're meant to provide laws or provide a rubber stamping effect of laws for the territory under Section 122 of the Constitution. And
What subsection?
there is no subsection.
Okay, just
in
checking.
it.
Yep. I knew that one, I just didn't know the subsection. But
There's very few parts of the Constitution that have subsections.
Okay,
There are
cool.
some, but mainly in regards to the voting. And Section 128.
Okay.
So basically what the people of Norfolk Island are doing is they're starting up a titles office. And this titles office will have the opportunity to lift your title from the hands of private owners of these current titles offices in each state, and shift your title over to the Norfolk Island office for the protection of your property. Because currently there's certain things occurring, like they've legislated that your paper title no longer holds any validity. So first of all, they've destroyed that. They're destroying also what's called the chain of title. And the chain of title is where you can get your title and take it to the titles office and put it next to the original title and trace back through all of the different owners right to the original grant from the Crown. They're stopping that now, and you need that chain of title to establish that original grant. So they're writing these laws to take away the very fundamental foundations and concepts of what a title is and the ability to prove your claim of right to that title. So that will that's going to be happening this year. There's just a few things that need to be put in place, and we'll report back to you as soon as that occurs.
It's actually a very exciting time because people like Darren and Nick and others that are out there are creating something new, and that's really what the theme of Living Free is. It's creating the new. So we have this opportunity to create something new, something that's not corrupt, and something that's better, you know, from health to the lawful stuff to growing our own food and taking responsibility. These are all opportunities for us to start doing what we really should have done originally and not put so much faith in the government to look after us. And obviously that trust has been misplaced. So, you know, look at this all as an opportunity, an ability to come up with something yourself. You know, we're going to start a marketplace in 2024, so we're working on a private marketplace where people will be able to buy and sell and trade goods and services in the private. So if you want to learn how to, you know, receive funds into accounts that are private, you can set that up, and then you can trade between each other, maybe even barter between each other. And we don't need to be paying personal income tax, for example. We don't need a lot of the things that we've been relying upon. So if you're someone who's business-minded, you've got something that you really want to do, think about what that passion is now so that you can start to align what that is and, you know, take that opportunity, because I think that that's where the world's going. So something else that's really exciting that we've got coming up on the 24th of the 24th of August this year, we're doing a Living Free Festival, and that's up on the Byron hinterland. We've spoken to and got agreement from a few people. Cal Washington's going to come out from Canada. There's a guy called Christopher Gardner, or Topher, who's going to come out from the US. There's a guy called Ole Demigard who's joined the platform. He's an amazing conspiracy guy, and there's a bunch of others. There's a few people up here that will be up there as well, and Tom Barnett, who's obviously a big part of the platform as well. And we're going to run this festival over a couple of days. We're going to have music there. There's an amazing lady who came up singing up there called Jessica Jasmine, who sings a lot about the freedom stuff as well, and she'll be up there. And we're just going to gather. It's going to be a fairly big retreat, a fairly big festival. So make sure you put those dates in your diary, and we look forward to putting that event on later on this year. So there's lots of things to look forward to, and I think 24 is going to be an exciting year. I think we've got a lot coming up. There's potentially a lot coming at us as well, but it doesn't have to be your reality. So we're going to create our own reality by creating the world that we want to see, and I don't think it's going to affect those people. Whatever they've got coming is not going to have the same sort of effect if you're taking personal responsibility for your life and making sure that you're not reliant on the government for what you need.
Nick, while we're on the subject...
I was just looking at I wasn't listening to that, I was looking at my children sticking their heads in the pool of water over there.
Trying to catch the fish with my kids.
Yes.
Sending my kids Australia, I reckon.
So what's the official date now where I have to chuck a sickie for Nikki?
20th of May.
The 20th of May, and that's at the county court?
It is, yes.
We expect to see you all there. So chuck a sickie for Nikki on the 20th of May. Come down to the county court and show your support, not just to Nick Patterson, but for your own freedom.
Thanks, mate. There is actually. I think it's important that we as, as an inspired people, realise that the thought precedes the action. So we've got to fill our minds with the right stuff. And I was reading a Bible verse with my friend Lydia before, and it was in Philippians, and it says, "Whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of a good report, if there be any virtue, and if there be any praise, think on these things." If we fill our mind with the right stuff, we'll be inspired and we'll be able to see clearly how to overcome all the destructive forces that are out there, because we don't have any control over what they do, but we have control over what we do and what decisions we make. So we should be focused on those things and not focused on the destructive things that are outside of our power.
Yeah, absolutely. So we also want to leave the microphone open for anyone who wants to come up, share their story about what they've gone through, maybe the inspirations, the changes, the positive stuff that has occurred to them over the last couple of years. But other than that, we're going to play some music again soon, and we're just going to kick back. Make sure that you're going around, meeting lots of people. That connection is hugely important for us to stay connected. And I'm so blessed and thank every one of you for not only just attending, but your support and your friendship. And it's been amazing. So if I haven't spoken to you already, please come over and have a chat to any of us as well. And I'd love to get to know you better as well. So thank you so much.